October 2024. I want to share an observation I have recently had regarding time, having contemplated this topic after editing Mari's transcript titled The Importance of Understanding Time. It is something I analyzed on my own and basing myself on what we have learned about what time is from our Taygetan friends. In Mari's video, but not only in this one, as it has been something repeated throughout the years by all the Svarus and their friends, she states that only if we accept time as non-linear can we expand our consciousness. As much as I agree, a strong idea dawned on me recently and quite contrary to the non-linearity of time, and that is that analyzing from the very definition of the word time given by them over the years, time is always linear and cannot be anything but linear. Perhaps it's just a matter of semantics and philosophical divagations, but let me explain what I mean. To begin, and since I think the core of my analysis stems from wanting to be very precise in adhering to the definition of the word time, let's look at the word time and how it has been presented to us, and also at the word linear. I will start with linearity and what it means to me since it's simpler. To be linear simply means for me to have a sequence, for something to have before and after. Point A moving towards point B, one moment following another. Now the very word time. It could be interpreted in myriad of ways. But let's stick to what we were told by our friends in orbit, as it's only this definition I will be bringing into the discussion. Time, as we have learned, is not the external reality or factor. Outside our own awareness of I, it doesn't exist. It is what gives you the experience of animated life, animated you. It is you animating life. It is a subproduct of the very act of being conscious, of thinking, of being aware of your own existence. Time is the experience of the progression of your own thoughts, awareness captured as ideas, and how you perceive each moment to moment. It is intrinsically tied to the I. It is the I. Without the I, there is no time, and no time without the I. Furthermore, time being you, it is also the awareness of, illusory or not, movement forward. Time is how you experience and process the flow of everything. And this is where the main point of my argument comes in, all that in a constant experience of a sequence. In fact, I believe there cannot be an experience of I, as source point of attention, without the experience of the sequence. The way I see it, it is an intrinsic quality or characteristic of the experience of a soul identity, even those in the levels way beyond physical. And that sequence precisely is what I would call linearity of time, or vector. Outside of self-perceiving point of attention of consciousness, outside of itself, time doesn't exist, right? It only exists for the consciousness that lives and generates it. And that consciousness, as long as it is functioning through a node of some form of identity, physical or not, will always perceive itself through some kind of a vector. After all, outside the self, there is no time at all, so it can't be defined as linear or not, as it is always going to only pertain to the point of attention who is living it. It is tied to the I, nothing else. And how that I perceives it is the only thing that matters here, even if that sequence seems scrambled. This leads me to the following point. It has been said that time is not linear, meaning that it doesn't flow from the past into the present and into the future, but expands in all directions as if in a multi-dimensional sphere. First of all, the way I see it, time cannot flow or expand anywhere, period, as it is not a reality exterior to the perception of the individual. Time going somewhere like a river with you inside being taken by it. You generate time. It is you. This present point of attention you call you. It is only your perception that interprets one thought after another as a vector, as a flow. How it sequences thoughts and situations, how it animates itself. And it can scramble that sequence in all directions, making time look semi-linear or non-linear to others who are perceiving their own individual time, but it will still be linear to itself, to its own self-perception and interpretation. It will still have its own sequence, its unique vector. It cannot be an aware point of attention without it. To clarify, as it seems important, that vector I'm talking about is not a movement in time, because, I repeat, your awareness is not inside time. Rather, you yourself, your awareness and all that you animate through it is time. Thoughts are time. Perception is time. There is no external flow. Only continual, mysterious sequencing of one moment, always present, with another, which we could take as a flow. That sequencing is what gives your point of attention, the I you are feeling right now, the sense of being alive, a person, a living entity. And that sequencing, in my view, will always necessarily be linear, even if it's just for itself, meaning have a self-reviewable sequence. In case I'm not making myself clear, let me explain this with an example. Let's say you rest on the sofa, then have a thought of getting up and washing your face. You go to the bathroom and open the sink. This is a sequence and vector of thoughts, situations. Now, let's assume that it is possible to reverse that order, and you are aware of washing your face first, and then go back to the sofa thinking you wanted to wash it. Time not being linear, right? Well, not really, as even if you reverse and scramble the order of those events, for the experience of the individual perception who lived that, there was still linearity there. And this happens, and then this happens, a perception of two separate moments. What I mean is that no matter how much you scramble the so-called past, present, and future, which in itself are also non-existent as external factors, the individual point of attention, the I, still lived the sequence, and that sequence is its unique time. Chronology might be all over the place, hence giving the illusion of time being semi-linear or non-linear, but not to the one living it. And the one who is living it is the only one that matters, because outside the awareness of that person's time doesn't exist on its own at all in the first place. Hence, it cannot be even viewed in terms of linearity or not. Linearity according to whom? It matters not that the souls from afterlife choose to reincarnate into present, past, future, using that to demonstrate that time is nonlinear or semi-linear. It still is linear for the soul who is experiencing the path of its experience, because it is still experiencing the now, then, apparent flow of animated reality. As it has been said by Osvarus, time is individual, and it is simply the I perceiving itself. Hence, the souls who perceive themselves in the afterlife and then incarnating whenever it is, perceive their time and therefore their inner sequencing as linear. One moment flowing into the next. Now I am Katya in 1965, and then I am Betty in 1645. Matters not. That's their linearity, no matter how it appears to others who view reality by dates, which is something based purely on collective agreements, as we know anyway. In itself, there are no dates. In Taygetan, there are no dates either, and all time traveling is not done by calendar, but by frequency maps. One cannot travel in time, as said above, because time is you. You take time wherever you go with you. It is your own awareness and personal sequencing. There is no external time through which to travel. You can only travel through recorded awareness ether stamps, lampposts, so to speak, of the points of attention, the frequencies registered as a map, all happening at once. You animate them according to what frequency address you pinch in your stellar navigation computers. But you are not traveling in time. You are bringing your own time with you. Time goes with you, as time is you, as shown by the definition above. That's why the very term time travel may not be even correct, in my opinion. Because even if you go back, what some might call in time, the sequencing of your own time will still be there, will follow you, and will be unique to you, and still very linear for you. Call it your individual timeline. You have not traveled anywhere, and definitely not in time, as if it was a sea through which to traverse, external to you. You simply manifested yourself in another frequency point registered in the etheric map, therefore accessible by you as the traveler, in the all happens at the same timeness. And even if you went back or into the future, as perceived by the collectively agreed chronometry, your own time while making the journey was still linear, still had a sequence, still had a now and then, weaving your own linearity through whatever happens, taking your own time with you. In my view, we can't simply say time is individual and then travel in time in one sentence if we want to maintain loyalty to the definition of the word time. Time traveling term is only for those who still perceive time as something external, independent of self, and based on dates. Another angle. And even if, in the wildest assumptions, you could experience the final thought, and only then the originating one, even if you could go to the bathroom and pee and only then feel the urge, guess what? That will still be a sequence, separate moments. And that sequence of seemingly separate moments is your time. You can mishmash the animated flow back and forth, reverse and to the sides, but it will not be time that is nonlinear. What would be nonlinear here is the seemingly random animation of information and data units happening at once, perceived then by the experiencer as contrary to the collectively registered reality of past versus future. That's not time that is not linear, as time is simply self-aware perception of the inner vector, without which there wouldn't be an experience of identity. What is not linear here is the innate tendency of reality itself, all happening at once, to affect you in all sort of seemingly ever-bending and warping manners. As a last point, going higher. One also could argue that, from the very expanded perception of the soul, a collective soul, you could experience the awareness of multiple moments of you at once, the future or the past, multiple versions happening at the same time, multiple vectors being you, and you being aware of them all at once, and so really aware of non-linear, so to speak, scrambling of moments. Yes, we know that's how it is for higher collective beings. But that would not take away from the experience of each of those individual points of attention within that larger soul being sequenced, animated in their own personal and subjective flow of chronology. And the time experience by such an expanded oversoul would be simultaneous, all happening at once, and the linearity would not come into picture at all, or actually could be viewed as that soul's own unique line of gathering experience from all directions at once. But that's already another level of all this, and I would stray, although it is connected and very important as well. To conclude, in my personal observation, as long as there is an awareness of self, no matter what level of existence, there is no escape from time, and therefore from linearity of time. Time understood as individual progression of thought units and what we perceive as situations. With that being said, I am definitely not an expert on the topic, and only allowing myself to contemplate the subject based on what I understand to be time and linear. What implications does this conclusion bear? I believe none. It is just a personal philosophical ramble. What do you all think?